What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast. If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video, I would really appreciate it. We have another Drive Time Shankly Sessions. This time we're going to be talking about the appointment of Andoni Iraola as new Liverpool head coach, manager, whatever you want to call it. Interesting on this, isn't it, really? And don't forget, folks, we've plenty of shows coming up. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for the watch-alongs and the support and all. Absolutely fabulous stuff. Really enjoyed the Champions League the other night with you guys tuning in and all. It was really good fun. We had a good time doing it. It was tense, it was pressure, but we had a good time. And all the other watch-alongs as well. If wrestling is your flavour or football is your flavour. But yeah, Liverpool appointing Andoni Iraola. And it's a real interesting narrative, this, isn't it, first of all, because like the absolute vitriol and the hate and the want to send your Arne Slot out the door, the Mo Salah statement, all the rest of stuff, we spoke about it over videos and shorts and everything else and all, and then Arne Slot goes and they appoint, or straight away they move for Andoni Iraola. And then you have a lot of people talking about, well, why didn't they go for Alonso and, you know, this, that and the other, and a brand new hat, the usual stuff that comes out. And you're there going, well, look, you want to change. I think most of us over the last year or two have spoke very highly of Andoni Iraola. A lot of people, you know, pointing to the fact that low percentage win rate and all that, and you know, if they do their homework, they'd know that Luis Enrique in his first number of years managing had quite a low percentage win rate and stuff like that. And you do have to, you know, as a manager, like you look at Jurgen Klopp when he was at Mainz, and you know, then at Dortmund, stuff like that. Like there's a journey to levelling up, and you have to be given that opportunity. Now, what he did with Bournemouth over the last 2 to 3 years, whatever it is, has been nothing short of phenomenal. When you think about the players that he lost, and when you think about the players even this season, like he lost practically his best player in January and all, you know what I mean? He lost the boy Huijsen now to Real Madrid. You know, he's lost a number of key players on that side, and yet he's been able to maintain, you know, a certain level and a certain standard. And let's not forget as well, they were absolutely flying high this season, Bournemouth. And then they had what you would call a slight drop off, where they just started drawing a few games. But like it's just a very strange one for me that this is the narrative that comes out. You know, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Every appointment is a risk. But I think he plays a really good brand of football. I think there's a nice kind of risk to kind of balance about the way he plays and the way he sets up teams. He wants to play a certain brand of football. It doesn't matter whether you're home or away. It doesn't matter if it's against bigger competition or lower competition. He plays the same kind of brand of football. He sets up in an aggressive type of way. He wants to win games. He doesn't want to draw games. If you remember that time during the season when they were on that run of draws, you know, he wasn't happy at all one bit. So there's a drive in him there to win. There's also, in terms of man management, you can see by that Bournemouth side there that he doesn't suffer fools gladly, that he deals with players when he has to deal with them, but also that he motivates players in a certain way. They train really hard. He motivates them in a way that they will literally run through a brick wall for him. And you know, these are all the facets of what dropped off this season for us. When you think about it, the things that were missing were, you know, the manager-player relationship, the drive to want to do more, all those kind of things were abandoned this season. Hence the reason we fell so short in so many games, or we coughed up so many points at times when we should have been able to see games out. Now, the one thing that I would say is, coming into this season, obviously, you know, the players that we brought in last summer are going to nearly feel as new as the players that have come in this summer. And if you think about a number of key positions where he's going to have to strengthen, I think Liverpool this summer are going to have to find a way to spend nearly as much as last summer, or not far off it anyway. And then we have a number of players also that are being sounded out and stuff like that and all, or potentially moved there. We know that Curtis Jones is linked with a move away. We know that McAllister's being linked with a move away. You know, various other things going on. We know that they're entering into contract talks now with Dominic Szoboszlai to try and tie him down for another 4 or 5 years. He's into the last 2 years of his contract. So, you know, the club coming out kind of, now we're learning from letting these contracts run down, when the narrative was like they were happy enough to let them run down, you know. So we'll see what happens there. We still don't know what's going to happen above him with Hughes and Edwards. We don't know in terms of him going in there as a head coach and a manager. What does that mean? How much influence will he have on the players? I firmly believe that we had a conversation with Alonso, and I firmly believe that Alonso, I think, wanted too much input into the buying and selling of players, and I think that's kind of where it got maybe a little bit unstuck. Hence the reason he went to Chelsea. I don't think the club really needed the end of season review to make their decision. I personally think, you know, and you hear people talking about the Mo Salah Instagram post. I mean, that was just the cherry on the cake, really. But I think you only had to look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Look at the atmosphere around the place, and it was clear to see that if they went into next season with Slot in charge, and they had given him another 250, 300, 350 to spend, and it came unstuck, and then at that stage you would imagine that Andoni Iraola would have a job somewhere. You know, they didn't move for the boy Honus. You know, obviously Nagelsmann wasn't going to happen, and obviously if there was a conversation with Luis Enrique, it wasn't happening either. Clearly he was probably going to stay at PSG. So there wasn't a huge amount of options out there. Obviously Glasner leaving as well, but like, I mean, our relationship with Crystal Palace was a little fractured, and obviously it might be hard for the Liverpool fans to take the Glasner, because he kind of seems like a little bit of a divisive character, where I think if you look at Andoni Iraola, I think there's kind of how would you put it, kind of a warmth to him, if you like, you know, kind of a, you look at Andoni Iraola and you kind of feel like you want him to do well, a bit like Unai Emery. You look at them and you wish them well, and you want them to do well, you know. When I look at Glasner, I don't get that same kind of feeling, you know. So and obviously the shithousery that went on with the Gahey deal, and he threatened to leave, and the other lad was at the fucking Spain class or the yoga class and all this kind of shit. So I don't think Glasner was in the picture. I wouldn't have thought so. Andoni Iraola was really the choice that was there, and it's an interesting narrative as well. And we've heard even from Man United fans talking about, you know, have they done the right thing with Carrick and stuff like that. And I would say personally, I think they've done the right thing with Carrick, because I think from that point of view, I think, you know, to have that percentage win rate that he's done since he's gone in, and to get them up to third and the Champions League and all that, he's done a phenomenal job. And I think if you had to cut that short and, you know, went for an Iraola or someone else and stuff like that, like, who knows what might have happened. But then if things come unstuck in the new season with the 2 games a week and the pressure of the Champions League, and as we said, and that same pressure is on Iraola as well, let's not get that twisted. This is a man who's used to doing a pre and post match press conference every week, and wouldn't be used to having the microscopic analysis up his backside from the British media that you get being in the Liverpool seat, and the pressure of having to perform, and the pressure of, you know, no disrespect to Bournemouth in any way, they've been absolutely phenomenal. I love watching them play. They got some great players there and stuff and all, but it's a different kind of pressure. Bournemouth start out at the season, and their job is to maintain their status in the Premier League and possibly have a good run in the domestic cup. Liverpool's pressure is to be absolutely competitive and in the conversation at the tail end of every tournament and every trophy they're involved in, you know. So it's a very different pressure. You can't go into Liverpool and manage Liverpool in a way that, like, you know, maintaining Premier League status and even maintaining top 5 status, you know, certainly wouldn't be enough, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a different kind of pressure. It's going to be a massive step up for the manager, there's no doubt about it. I think he'll get the full support, but I just hope that people will have the patience, because the fan base is quite toxic at the moment. Remember, there's a division in the fan base at the moment. There's a number of older school guys would have thought Slot would have got more of a chance. The younger kind of fan base were, get him out of here. Absolutely toxic players to hold on. We've seen a number of conversations since he's gone now, which would lead you to believe that the relationship with the players was extremely fractured, which is not unlike what we probably would have thought, you know. So I think they're going to have the patience with Iraola as well, because if we do like lose another 1 or 2 players and stuff like that, and if we do have to bring in 4 or 5 new players on top of what I would call as new players there that didn't settle in this season, they're going to have to try and find this season now to settle in, you know what I mean? Like let's be honest, Ekitike is going to be out till January, you know, while Florian Wirtz improved somewhat in the tail end of the season and stuff like that, he's still way off the level that we need. So maybe Iraola might be able to find a way to work that. Alexander Isaac, you know, he's going to feel like a new signing. Kerkez is the one that was probably the most consistent in terms of playing. Certainly improved after Christmas, became more like the Kerkez that we would expect. Frimpong in and out of the team with the hamstring issue and stuff like that and all, so that'll need to be addressed. Talk that there was a major issue with Conor Bradley there. He may or may not come back, we don't know, so hopefully fingers crossed he does come back. Big fan of Conor Bradley's and stuff like that, no. But they're going to have to look at, you know, who's going to come in terms of central defence. Kanate now gone. Do they get Diamande over the line? And lots of other kind of things that need to be sorted out. Mo Salah gone, Robbo gone, Kanate gone. Could 1 or 2 more go as well, and then you'd have to fill that void as well. Also there was talk of Chelsea sniffing around Florian Wirtz, but I really don't think that's an option for them at the moment. Missing out on European football and stuff, I think they'll be quite strangled by their finances a little bit. I would imagine they're going to have to sell players to bring players in, and I don't think they'll be in the market for players at that kind of level of value, if you like. But let us know your thoughts. How do you feel about Andoni Iraola? I have spoke glowingly about him on the podcast with Darren and with Mark. We spoke about him and Keith Andrews this season. We've kind of nearly coupled Brentford and Bournemouth together in terms of how well they've done. You know, you look at Iraola there with Bournemouth. I mean, last day of the season they were in the conversation for like a top 5 Champions League spot. That's just insane to achieve that, you know. With what he had available and all that kind of stuff, and taking into account that in January, you know, he lost his best player to City, you know, so it's like it's crazy what he has achieved there. So yeah, hopeful, wanted to work out. Hope he absolutely knocks it out of the park. And we hear the conspiracy theorists out today as well, talking about that the last time Arsenal won the league was 2004, and Liverpool went out and hired Rafa, and that season, the following season, we won the Champions League. So could history repeat itself? Arsenal winning the league this year, we bring in a Spanish manager in Iraola. Could he guide us to Champions League glory next season? Who knows? But hopefully we'll play a more pleasing brand of football. Hopefully we'll play something that looks more like what we did look like, and hopefully that will lead us to maybe 4, 5, 6 more wins, which would be another, you know, 18 points maybe, and 18 points could make a huge difference to where we were. So let's see how it goes, but excited to see how it plays out. Like everything I've said before, any appointment is a risk, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, and whether Iraola can become a success at Liverpool and get us back to where we were, kind of humming and stuff. But again, a lot of player changes we spoke about. That's going to take time to bed in. I think we're going to need to be a little bit patient this season, and I think that's probably why they pulled the trigger as well, because I think with Slot, if he starts out in August and we get into September and we're kind of struggling again, it'll be more of the shit, the wave, the crap and all coming at us again. And I think that would create even further problems, I would say. So let's see how it all plays out. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the news and the punditry and all about whether he's good enough, should they have stuck with Slot. Carragher, I can't understand. He just talks out of both sides of his mouth each week. So whatever narrative suits it, or whatever narrative the club wants spun out there, is what he puts out there anyway. So let me know your thoughts. First of all, before we get off as well, I'd like to wish, you know, our wishes or our thoughts go out to Kenny, obviously King Kenny Dalglish, who's going through cancer treatment at the moment. Wish him all the best. Wouldn't be a great year now if we were to lose 2 kings in one season, would it? After losing Mo, the Egyptian king, leaving the club. We don't want anything to happen to King Kenny, the real king of Liverpool, of course. So wish him the best, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Kevin Keegan as well, who's going through a really tough time at the moment and stuff like that. So yeah, two absolute icons, I would say, absolute icons. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with both of them. Make sure they're both doing as good as they can do at the moment. So until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video, and of course drop into the comments there. Let us know what you think of the appointment and how you think it's going to play out. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.